When you pull cards out, you can either set them on the cardboard that we talked about, or you can put them inside of anti-static bags. The anti-static bags are better because when you go to grab one of them, you may arc onto it. So the reason that, well, you told me that the energy has nowhere to go if it's not plugged into something, right? Well, that's true, but the problem is on these circuits, they have capacitors, and capacitors will charge. They want energy. So they will receive energy and charge. And they're discharged as they sit there. The power will drain out of them slowly, right? So it's not exponential, but it's not linear, but it's a sharp drain of energy. It's kind of in between. So the capacitors, when they're drained, if you go to touch it, it will receive the energy. There's a place, that potential has a place to go. But the problem is you're giving it too high of a voltage and it's not rated for that voltage, and it will destroy the internals of that circuit. So static bags will prevent ESD. So if you're working with the wrist strap on, the computer's plugged into the power supply, so everything's grounded, touch the case and then grab the card, and then you can put it back in the case. If you have it in a static bag, you can move it around as much as you want. You can walk around the house with it or the building, whatever. But you want to make sure that when you pull it out of the bag that, again, you touch the case. You want to ground yourself before you do that. And then we want to remove the interface and power connection cables, and then remove the drives from their bays, and then remove the motherboard. So you may have to remove the motherboard in some cases that are smaller before you remove the motherboard. You just may not have enough room unless that drive bay comes out the side. So for when you're reassembling the computer, you want to follow the disassembly procedure in the reverse order. Do not force connectors into place. There's something wrong if they don't go. And then do not force expansion cards into the slots. And again, make sure they're clean before you stick something in there. And again, you want to reseat them every now and then. Make sure there's no dust before you pull them out, because the dust will get in there. So the thing about dust is, we talked about that fire example earlier, right? Where dust will conduct electricity, especially if it contains moisture and contaminants. So don't let that dust sit on your motherboards, and especially inside of your slots. When removing cables, remember the pin 1 locations. So if we have a square cable for the older type of cables, pin 1 will be a filled in piece of plastic so that it can't go in the wrong way. It's what we call keying. It's keyed. And then connect the cables to the drives before installing the drives in the bays. Yeah, because you can see them better, and then you stick them in a computer, right? So that's probably a good idea. Those things are pretty fragile. But after you get good, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to disconnect them and reconnect them in place. And then test the system before replacing the cover, of course, because you don't want to put it together and then have to take it apart. In fact, just because you put it together, something won't work. Preparing to upgrade, the configuration sheet. So this will give you an idea, like back in the day, of the things we used to have to do. You had to write down all of this information from the system before you powered it off. You had to have all of these settings. Today, no one uses this.